We are Ole Miss Rebels. As Mississippi's flagship university, we dig deeper, see farther, work harder. We pioneered human organ transplants. We helped prove Einstein's theory of gravitational waves. We are conducting life-changing research that solves the problems of today. We are Ole Miss, transforming lives and the world.
Hey, welcome to the POMcast with Stephen Willis. We're going to start in a few minutes, but I want to tell you to hit up our social sites, retweet, share, comment, like, do all of that stuff. It can only help us out and it'll make the show even better. But we're getting ready to give you a lot of good Ole Miss information, and I just thought I would tell you that because the POMcast is starting. Well, it's starting right now. Wait, no, that's a little early. It is starting right about now. All right, welcome to the POMcast on this Tuesday morning. I am your host, Stephen Willis, here to talk about all things Ole Miss football. My computer is going back and forth today, and heavy load on there. If there's a lag, I apologize for that, but it is what it is. We have a lot of stuff going on today. Before we get started, I want to tell you about Travel and Cruise World, 1-800-330-7461. Again, that is 1-800-330-7461. Basically, what I wanted to do here was to give you guys a resource in Central Florida. Everybody needs a vacation. We're 18 months into this point. You can go use that. They can get you the same prices you can online, and they can make sure you know the different rules that are available at each and every location. Whether you need masks, whatever's going on, they'll make sure you know that. But that is travelandcruiseworld.com, travelandcruiseworld.com. See Central Florida like a local. Down below, you see the podcasts that we are on. Those are the major ones. You can search Positively Ole Miss, leave a 5-star review. Doesn't matter what you say, just leave a 5-star review. That will help with the algorithm. Also, if you want to watch the show, you can catch us on Twitter at the Stephen Willis and at Old Positively. You can catch us on Facebook at facebook.com/POMcast, or you can catch us on YouTube at Positively Ole Miss. Subscribe and hit the bell. You'll not only know that we're streaming, you'll know what we're streaming about, and you can catch us on Twitch at Positively Ole Miss. All one word, all lowercase. So that is going on as well. Today, we want to do a little Know Thy Enemy. And basically, we'll learn a little bit about Malik Willis is what's going on. He's thrown for nearly 2,000 yards. He's 114 at 210, 21 touchdowns, 6 picks. And he's also leading the team in rushing with 126 carries for 684 yards, 9 touchdowns. Quite impressive. Everything's going on. This is a team that lost to Louisiana Monroe, though. They are looking at points against, or points for, 37, points against, 17. I think that's a reflection of who they've played. Let's see who they've played so far. They opened up with the Campbell Camels. That's a tough one. They beat the Troy Trojans. They beat Old Dominion. They lost to Syracuse. They beat UAB. They beat Middle Tennessee State. They lost to Louisiana Monroe. They beat North Texas, and they beat Massachusetts. So the next 2 games for them are... Actually, the next 3 games for them are the most difficult on their schedule. They play at Ole Miss. They get a home game against Louisiana, and then they close the season out with Army, and which I believe that is there. But that'll be a very tough game, and Army will be getting ready for the Navy game. So that is what we're looking at there. And let's see if we can see some defensive stats. They look to be a fairly explosive type defense, but that doesn't really mean anything. We'll see how they handle the run and how things get stacked up against them moving forward. But there's nothing there that absolutely scares me, or even brings into the fear of what's going on. Now, That is the know thy enemy. So it's basically Malik Willis and no one else. Of course, if you ask some media people around Oxford, Ole Miss is Matt Corral and nobody else. So take that with a grain of salt. Liberty probably has some other good players as well, but they tell you over and over, it's just Matt Corral. This team would win 2 games if what for Matt Corral. It's silly. It's the same thing that came when Eli was there. Anytime we have a good quarterback, that narrative comes up, and it's a way of propping up him. They don't know how to talk about the fact that he is good without tearing others down. It is absolutely ridiculous. It's some of the stupidest shit I've ever heard. But it is absolutely the way they do it. They can't talk about how good Matt is without tearing down everybody else around him, because that is the only explanation. It can't be an explanation to where Matt is just an extremely special player surrounded by good players. Everybody knows we're not Alabama where you get an extremely special player and is surrounded by great players. But good players surrounded by there. Yeah. But everybody, it's like the narrative comes out that, oh, you wouldn't believe where this Ole Miss would team without Matt Corral. It's stupid. Absolutely stupid. And that narrative, honestly, Matt Corral would be really pissed off about that narrative. It's a lazy narrative. It shows that you don't watch what's going on, what you don't understand what's going on. They did that before we played, or after we played Tulane, or after we played Alabama, was Matt Corral and everybody else. They started that narrative then. What was it Saturday night when the backups were in? How can you make it a little bit lower? And the separations, it's terrible. It absolutely is terrible. And I'm just ashamed that it goes on and that it's happening. And it really embarrasses me for people who have that take. But all it does is show that they don't understand what's happening. They can't see what's happening. They can't talk about how good someone is because they don't understand what they're seeing without tearing down others. And that's absolutely ridiculous. And it just happens. All right. We're going to do, let's see. Oh, I need to get those in line because I didn't set that up because I just had a phone call with the tumor doc office. And he was all about setting up my CyberKnife procedure. So that's on the brain at the moment. So that's what's going on with me right now. Basically, what they got set up was, or they want to do is like sometime around the 13th will be the beginning of my procedure, which is fine. You know, that's absolutely fine. And because of that, I have a vacation the week before that. So basically what I'm saying is from the 4th through the 12th, we're pretty much going to be offline during that week. We're going to be doing vacation, whatever we need to do from the 4th to the 12th. The 13th, those next 2 weeks, we're going to try to do as business as usual as possible. Now, I don't know when my appointment will be. I could have an 8 o'clock in the morning appointment. I could have a 2 o'clock in the afternoon appointment. I don't know what it would be. But depending on how that is going to depend on how we schedule what we do, like our Beast of the East, Best of the West, SEC After Dark, because all that's going to continue post-football season. But it will have a 2-week period of me getting my treatment. After my treatment, we're going to be fine, and everything will be numbered. After the new year, we will be absolutely up and running the way we're going to be up and running. But real quick during, from December 4th to about December 22nd to Christmas maybe, the month of December is going to be weird for us. And that is mainly because I have that family vacation and I have my radio surgery that's going to go on every other day for 5 days. So that's going to affect our schedule. I do appreciate all of y'all tuning in to watch. Just understand that during December, we're not necessarily going anywhere. We're just going to take a short break, just hit the pause button for a second. I understand that December is going to be, the numbers are going to be low. Just save us. Just get ready for January. And by the time SEC play hits for basketball season, we'll be up and running. But everything else, it kind of is what it is. Now, like I said, we've got a short little segment of press conference highlights. Let's do that real quick, and we'll come back and we'll talk about the wide receiver room because there's some things that's on my mind at the moment. And we'll probably get you out a couple minutes early, but stick around for this.
You know, we've moved on from the game, but obviously we've got to recap it with you guys. And, you know, disappointing outcome to the game. Did not feel that, for whatever reason, I'm the head coach, didn't feel like we had great energy, which is, you know, not been an issue here. Sometimes we haven't played well at times, you know, over the 2 seasons, but I don't know why that was. But also that's kind of one-sided because we did, after the first quarter, have good energy on defense. So, you know, maybe that's also a product of, you know, having some very valuable offensive players not playing and some guys that haven't played very much playing. So, you know, we had a lot of opportunities in the game. Our defense played well. We did not play well on offense, especially in critical situations. And, you know, kind of like the Alabama game, you know, been the 2 games where we've struggled on our 4th down conversions, and, you know, those are a big deal, just like they are when you make them. You know, they keep drives alive. When you don't make them, you know, you don't get any points. So, you know, I'm very, you know, we research everything that we do, and you know, I would say, you know, just like the book was very right in the middle on, you know, the 4th down, on whether to kick, you know, when it is 8. So obviously we didn't make the 4th down, so we would kick if we could redo it. That's how it goes. But, you know, just kind of felt we had struggled on offense, you know, that it was going to take a lot to, you know, make the field goal and then also, you know, stop, get the ball and move all the way down. And, you know, you're still going to need to score a touchdown. It's not like it is truly a 1-possession game that you're going to a field goal like a 6-point game. So, you know, it is what it is.
Well, I wasn't really trying to think about it like that. I was just trying to make any play that came my way and try to find a way to help the team to win.
He's definitely going to be a challenge. He's a mobile guy that can really extend plays with his legs. So I feel like one of the biggest things is going to be able to contain him and not letting him extend plays with his legs. And when he does extend a play, make sure we get to him and tackle him.
Yeah, he did not do anything today. You know, I was surprised he came back. It looked like it was really bad, obviously, when it happened, like season-ending, broken, and that's how he felt it was. And so, luckily, obviously, it wasn't. So he was able to come back in. He's been very hard on himself over, you know, the last day and a half. You know, 1st down interception, you know, that's just totally unlike him this season, and something maybe a year ago he would have done. You know, it makes it a great play to get away from the guy, and he's done it all year where he goes and, you know, he got 5 yards and run out of bounds, and 2nd and 5, forces the ball across his body. Has not done anything anywhere like that this year. So it just shows you everyone's human, no matter who you are, how good you are at a position or whatever you're doing, that when you try to force things, you know, and get out of doing, you know, what the plan is, that can happen. And I mean, I think everybody knows why that happened. You know, he felt like he had to create something. We weren't making a lot of plays around him. He's, you know, I think, you know, when we look today that, you know, he's at that point playing without basically 5 starters on offense and, you know, just trying too hard. It's very competitive, and that can backfire.
Oh, well, no, I don't want to, like, put pressure on myself. I just want to go out there and execute and do my job to my best ability.
We take everything week by week. So the past week is in the past. Today is the last day we're going to talk about that Auburn game. So really just move on to the next game and go 1-0 this week.
Well, Drummond was a new injury that happened, and he was unable to return. He actually was out earlier than that. We actually put him back in just for a trick play, knowing that he didn't have to do anything on it, that he could hurt himself worse. And Braylon, tried to go, and just watching him and talking to him, and he's like, well, I can go if I can cut off this leg, but I can't cut off this leg. Well, we're not doing that. So, that's why he basically didn't play. So, very difficult position for us on the road against really, really good players on defense to have that many guys out. And, some guys stepped up and made some plays. We've moved on from the game, but obviously we've got to recap it with you guys.
All right, yes, there's the press conference highlights. Lane Kiffin talking about the Auburn game and what's going on. One thing that I question from this game, and as a society, by the way, we have to get away from the fact that all criticism is bad. You have to be able to criticize people's going in. You have to be able to take criticism. You have to be able to give criticism, or it's frightening what happens as a result of that. And we're talking about North Korea at that point. So I want to talk about this. There's not a page in that analytic book that could accurately give you a percentage of what was going on Saturday. You might look down there and say, okay, it's 4th and 6. The book says a 70% chance we can go for it. Well, there's not a page in there was like, well, all of your wide receivers and tight ends are out. Your quarterback is 50%. That's going to affect his footwork. Where would those percentages be? That percentage would drop to 20, 15% at that point. And that's not even including the officials, the way that was going. And the fact that you're on the road and everything that's going on, those analytics would have dropped down considerably. So if you want to tell me that he's following the book, that's fine. You can't necessarily hide behind the book on this, because you have to be able to see how things are going. Let's not even cut back the fact. If he'd have kicked one of those field goals, it would have been a one-score game there at the end. It would have been an 8-point game. A chance for you to come back and win or tie the game up would have still been there. They had to play perfect. And they finally gave up a field goal, and it took the lead out to 11, and essentially the game was over at that point, when that was a field goal that we could have taken at least 3 or 4 times. We were in the red zone 8 times. That's a game that Ole Miss should not have lost. They lost because of a series of events that came in, from coaching decisions to the fact that players were hurt, the way the game was being officiated. It was on the road, so you get that Auburn voodoo at night. A slow start by the defense. It's a big touchdown they gave up at the end of the first half. They'd have forced a field goal there. It would have probably also been a different game. So there's lots of ifs and ors. I'm not saying it's all officiating, not saying it's all coach, not saying it's all players. It's just to conclude. You bring together all those events, and you end up with what happened. That's what was required for Ole Miss to lose a game on the road. That's a positive, folks. That is an absolute positive. All of those things had to come together for Ole Miss to lose that game. So understand that. Like I said yesterday, Luke Altmaier, hell of a game. He settled that game down as a true freshman in Jordan-Hare Stadium, because that game was 14-3. Matt Corral goes down. There's a chance we get absolute boat raced. And nobody would be surprised if it happened. But he came in and was able to settle the game down. 5 for 5. Only 20 yards. I remember he ran for like 9 yards. Need to get out a little bit more, what's the word, emphatically, so that you know. But it is what it is. But you saw mobility. You saw hope for the future. And, yeah, for the first time all year, I'm not looking at Ole Miss's quarterback position as somebody that will absolutely be quarterback by transfer next year. Luke Altmaier has a chance to be the guy. I really liked what I saw during that game from him. Ja'Cour Pearson had a good game. He made up for what happened at Tennessee. which he kind of had a day. Of course, he was playing out wide. Why was he playing out wide? What's going on over there? He's playing out wide. John Rice Plumlee's playing in the slot. Maybe you just want to get John Rice on the field, but you want to have Jakor because he's one of the best three that you have, so you move him out wide. Well, that affects the run game a little bit because, as we all know, Jakor is about 5'7" or 5'8". He's a little bitty guy. He makes Elijah Moore look big. So you have all of that going on. On the other side, you have Jaden Jackson, Danish Jackson. They just struggle to be the guy there. Nobody has taken that position and grabbed it by the bootstraps and made it their own. Nobody's done that on that side of the field. It's just been Jaden Jackson. It's been Danish Jackson. You go through and you get a hit. And then John Rice has not played well in the slot. By the way, call that. It's a hard position to learn. There's intricacies. And just because you can run fast, that doesn't affect everything. What John Rice Plumlee needs to be is Christian McCaffrey. But we have so many running backs, he probably wouldn't see the field then either. Be like Kentrell Bullock over there. But it is what it is. Now, we're going to shift gears for a second, and I've been on this pretty consistently from the beginning. If the backups, now the starters being hurt is bad. I mean, obviously, there's no way to take that away. Having Braylon, Dontario, and Jonathan Mingo out, that's bad. Have the start Chase Rogers out, that's bad. But if the backups aren't performing and they aren't doing their job, why aren't the young guys out there? Why aren't the kids out there? Why didn't Brandon Buckhalter play in the position that Dennis and Jaden Jackson are playing? Why isn't Braylon Brown out there at the other side that they shifted Jakor Pearson to? Now, here's the problem with this offense and what's going on. Matt Corral allows them to call a certain type game. He's so elite. He can just do more than other people can. So that probably lifts the offense beyond the skill set of a freshman because it's very complex. Lots of option routes, RPOs. I get it. It's fairly complex. And probably looking at the practice calling that offense, Brandon Buckhalter and Braylon Brown and J.J. Henry are a little bit behind. But there's an offense, and I've seen them get spot duty over the past few weeks. There's an offense that they can succeed in. There's an offense that they can thrive in. Is that the offense that you just call for fully healthy Matt Corral and all those wide receivers? No. It's the offense that you would call for Luke Altmaier. And this is a hot take. I get that. This is a hot take. But if they would have been conservative and called the offense like they did for Luke Altmaier in that game, with Matt Corral when he came back, I think Ole Miss would have won that game. If everything would have gotten conservative, I think we would have won that game. The fact that this all gas, no brakes offense that they run, and like I said, when it works, fantastic. Absolutely unstoppable. It's amazing. But whenever you have pieces around, all of a sudden you're racing a Formula One race with a Honda Civic. And you need to figure out how to maximize that Civic. Maybe you turn it into a rally car and you run things a little bit differently. You lean on the run game. Lane Kiffin talked about in his press conference how the RPOs were signaling to the pass game and that Auburn was playing a 3-deep zone. And then whenever we couldn't attack that, they just attacked the run. They just attacked the run over and over and over again. And they were able to do that because we didn't have all of our bullets in our gun. I mean, that's just the fact of the matter when it comes to this offense. We just didn't quite have the bullets in the gun. And that's fine. That's absolutely fine. That happens. Now, this team has a ton to play for. you're 15th in the country, which means if you went out, you win your last 4 games, which is 2 of them is Liberty and Vanderbilt. But if you beat A&M and Mississippi State, you're going to finish in the top 10. I've said over and over, this is the time of the year when the Big Ten starts eating their own. And that's absolutely going to happen. Let me look at the AP Top 25 and just tell you what's going on. So, you got Baylor, who still has Oklahoma at 14. You have A&M, which we play. We control our destiny with that. Auburn still has Alabama. Oklahoma State still has Oklahoma. Wake Forest, nobody believes in Wake Forest at this point, but good for them. Michigan still has Ohio State. Notre Dame, I don't know what's going on with Notre Dame, but whatever. Oregon, whatever. Ohio State still has Michigan State. Oklahoma still has all of those guys. Alabama still goes to Auburn. Cincinnati still has a championship game. There's a lot of losing that can happen between now and the end of the season. The next 4 weeks could be absolutely insane. Whenever we talked about all the chaos that they had to deal with in this football season, which we are in Alabama defeating Georgia away from absolute anarchy in college football. I mean, a Georgia loss would send this thing into a tailspin. I don't think y'all realize what would happen there. But there's games, if Ole Miss wins out, they're going to finish in the top 10. Period. Now, they need to get healthy. They need to just sit the wide receivers this week and get them, and hopefully they're ready for Texas A&M. Hopefully they're absolutely ready. In the meantime, against Liberty, play the young guys. Line up Braylon Brown. Line up J.J. Henry. Line up Brandon Buckhalter. Let's see what they got. Let's see what they can do. Because all 3 of those guys would be starting at Liberty right now. Understand that. That's what we're going against. Everybody views Hugh Freeze as the boogeyman. But all 3 of those guys would be starting in Liberty right now. So use them. Don't do the all gas, no brakes offense. Use them. Find stuff that works. Hand the ball off to the running backs. Dress up direct handoffs. Don't look like RPOs. I mean, that's important. And let's get this done. We're at the point of the season to where it only matters that you win the game. It doesn't matter how. And if you can get through Liberty, then you get a free shot against Texas A&M. Remember, in our when we went through the win-loss, we had 3 losses. And those 3 losses were Alabama, Auburn, and Texas A&M. But Texas A&M isn't what they were supposed to be. They're not there. Auburn's a little better than they were supposed to be. Alabama's about the same. But A&M is gettable. And especially if some of those wide receivers come back, they're gettable. And it's no longer 9-3, you're looking at 10-2. If you're 10-2 and in the top 10, you're playing an Access Bowl. You're in the Peach Bowl or the Fiesta Bowl. You know, it is what it is. It is going to be just an absolute fun thing. But that's what we do. I just play the young wide receivers. The worst thing that can happen is you get some development out of the deal and you know what you have. Like I said, it is what it is. But thank you very much for tuning in today. I hope everybody tunes in tomorrow tonight. Best of the West. I also have recording with Bill Flowers and with the Biscuits and SEC guys. We'll be doing that today. Tuesday's my rough day. And that's another reason whenever we start the treatment schedule, we're not going to mess with Tuesday necessarily too much because that's a busy day. But thanks for watching. Tune in to tonight for Best of the West, tomorrow for SEC After Dark, and catch the POMcast tomorrow at 10 a.m. Thank you very much for tuning in, and of course, hotty toddy.